Do you see what is happening right before our eyes? Second coming of the Lord. Jesus Christ will govern from Old Jerusalem and the New Jerusalem, built upon the American continent. In the coming day, the Lord will return to this holy land. Then the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. Then he will offer these words: I was wounded in the house of my friends.
If you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Have tried to take my freedom and indeed to take my life. Just a few months ago in a beautiful Pennsylvania field, an assassin's bullet ripped through my ear. But I felt then, and believe even more so now, that my life was saved for a reason. I was saved by God to make America great again.
Travis Wayne Goodsall. Mormons, you cannot just be a casual Kool-Aid drinking, lazy learner and lax disciple Mormon. I know that the church sabotages us. We're kind of forced into it by birth. But converts have no excuse. You need to do your research on the church first, rather than just jumping right in to what the little kids who go out on their missions tell you feels so great. To become a professor of Mormonism with a PhD, which is not available, I think. Shouldn't have. It would be a worthless degree. Or to be at least an expert in Mormonism, a scriptorian. You are kind of required to know the science of the religion, the anthropology, the culture, the linguistics, because you're going to have to know the scriptures, and thus you're going to need to study Greek, you're going to need to study biblical Hebrew, you're going to need to learn from me about Paleo-Hebrew. You're going to have to learn from me about Egyptian. And the reason why me is because the others that were involved with this kind of research are dead. I'm the last one remaining. It's kind of tragic. Gary Greenberg, old age, but Dorothy M. Murdoch tragically died of cancer. And so we lost a great contribution in correcting the errors in Egyptology as well as Bible study, with her recognition that the Bible stories came from the Egyptian documents. And so there's work involved in being a Mormon. And the church sabotages you by forcing you to only learn what they tell you to learn from birth. They purposely do not use science to study Mormonism. And so when you go out on a mission as a little kid, you don't know Mormonism. And so the church is hoping that this emotional guilt trip by the Mormon teens will ensnare a bunch of people to join. You know, the elderly who see teens all excited about Jesus, and they want to be a part of that kind of a religion where it teaches teens to live in Jesus's way. But as I exposed yesterday from the Trump ICE 2025 video, and this is part 3, which I get to merge with today's, or from yesterday's, which, oh my God, don't even get me started. There's just so much to do and not enough time to do it. And schedule's all thrown off. And there's still no fall of the Great and Abominable Church yet, with a transfer so that we can get you to Zion, save your lives from the coming doom. And I don't understand why nobody is fearing and trembling of what's about to happen, as if somehow America will still continue to exist, we'll still survive, we'll get through it, and you're not paying attention to the other lives that are completely, utterly destroyed and ruined. It's coming. They're doing a slow torture technique. And so I've exposed, with all these years of the latter days, I finally got the picture made. And I got to add, because of last night's news. That's why the thumbnail picture. And then I have a generic one to continue on after this. But as much as this has become my life these latter days, fully dedicated to video content, to try to educate Mormons, to try to warn Mormons, to expose the threat that we are all under, and for Mormons to just say, bleep you, Travis. Church is true, Jesus is true, he's coming, the prophets told us he's coming, and yeah, I know English grammar meant that he was supposed to come before that first Saturday after conference, but he didn't. But you leave us alone, religious freedom. That's the danger that the church sets for you. As I've been doing 8.5K videos for all these years, and for the 500,000 unique people in all of those videos, where are you guys? You came to one video, you were offended, You didn't believe, and you're gone. And yet, here I am. Everything has happened from Scripture prophecy. We're in the final days. I've exposed the enemy. Yeah, it's the church. This is not Joseph's religion. They stole it and murdered him and turned it Christian. And Mormons just are so stubborn, so hard-hearted, so cold, calloused, that they don't give a damn that they are presenting themselves as illiterate, full of hatred for their own founder and the keystone scripture. That they honestly believe they can present the Book of Mormon to people all around the world, and that those people will likewise go, "Wow, I'm illiterate. Your church is so true." 1 Nephi chapter 1 verse 2, Jewish, not Christian. I've exposed this enemy and how they pulled this off, and their plot to overthrow our government right now. Trump is doing exactly what the church wants so that the church can get their kingdom back. But shh, don't tell. Nobody can find out about it. It's a secret combination. The story of Thomas B. Marsh is the bombshell that destroys this church. That extermination order was for this church, not Joseph Smith. And still, to this day, everybody blames Joseph Smith. Even those who are Mormons, who get doubt promotion and leave. Very few people learn that Joseph Smith was a victim of Brigham Young and was completely sabotaged. And it is pathetic that there are ex-foes and never-mos who are just like Mormons in pushing the false narrative. That they think that they know the truth, but you never bothered to study. You're unable to identify a forged document. You all got conned by Mark Hoffman, just like the church did. And it wasn't until he blew himself up that everybody goes, "Oh, yeah, I felt there was something wrong about that." Bleep you. You gotta do your research and study if you're gonna be in the field. That's what you do with your career, right? You went to school for your career, or do you just flip burgers? You didn't graduate from high school. Maybe you did. You went right into the burger flipping business. The prestigious line where women are still getting denied equal pay with the boys who enter into the field. That is in the news still. And that's a situation where they're still pushing DEI for paychecks. And so it's not going to go anywhere because MAGA is in charge now. And yet still there are deep state Dems trying to go in through back doors to get DEI through. It ain't gonna work. if I have to discuss this, fine, let's get it over with. If a male and a female both get hired at McDonald's, Burger King, Burger Heaven, whatever, and they're both burger flippers, they should be paid the same starting pay. If the female is not getting paid the same as the male, both hired at the same time for the same job, that's then the problem. That is criminal even. That is women not getting paid the same as a man. However, it is being abused to say that, well, this lumberjack field only has men and they're making lots and lots of money. Hypothetical, you can use it for any career. We demand that women be given jobs in the lumber field. No, you can't. That's what DEI does. Second, it's intended that because there's not enough women to men in the lumber field job, that therefore women are not getting paid equally with men. That's also a fallacy argument. It's wrong. But there are women who try to push that agenda to steal the jobs away from men who got into the job through merit. You know, getting an education, getting a degree, getting hired, working his way up, accomplishments, merit. Now, I understand that the school systems, which are now gone, were not teaching kids equally in the various states. With the race issue, blacks in the South were not getting educated equally with pure white race communities. That is a problem, because merit ends up being a weapon to further suppress blacks from being allowed into the same career fields to compete equally. That has to stop. But don't worry, there is no federal Department of Education anymore. So now you have to work with your state to be treated equal. And so another problem that the women's activists demand is that a man in the lumberjack field who's been there in the field for decades has gotten raises and promotions, and then a woman who has been there for not as much time has not really gotten promotions and raises because she hasn't performed. And so then she, in order to promote herself, pulls the sex card to say, well, you're discriminating against me because, you know, I'm doing it. And the boss says, no, you haven't. You show up for work, you're filing your nails rather than sawing down the trees or hacking down the trees. You know, there's those issues, a whole bunch of issues. And so for a study to come out and say women are not getting paid equally with men, that's all BS. And even when they say that there are too many men in corporate CEO positions and they're getting paid more than other CEO women. Well, that's their problem for not being able to get the business so that they can get paid. And it's just, oh my hell. And so, no, when they see those kinds of news clips, that's fake news. That's fake news. When somebody does polling data, fake news. When somebody has opinion panels, fake news. Yeah, Fox has fake news. No, the Five. Pfft, whatever. You're the Squad. That is not news. News is breaking news. A plane just collided with another plane. AI is involved. That's news. And so for Mormons to not know the difference between news from the evidence that needs to be turned into fact through theory development, science, investigative journalism, supposed to be doing it that way, just like a forensic investigator of a crime scene. So too, investigative journalists are supposed to do their research. For a reporter to be handed a script and read from it to the audience is not news. So yes, I have seen over the course of decades in my lifetime of how the news no longer teaches or informs us of actual news. Even when there is a news story to cover, as every day there is, the news always presents it as reactions. We're getting people's reactions to the nuclear bomb that went off. Congressman, this other congressman called you a dumbass. What is your reply? That is not news. And it pisses me off as I'm trying to go through the news, hoping that YouTube isn't cyber terrorizing me. As the titles are all nonsense. And so I have to pay close attention to see if there's a potential for news within the response title. And the local news is the worst at it here in Utah. You know, family responds to the death of their child. Well, no, that's not news. The death of their child is the news. Cover the death of the child. How did they die? What happened? What's going on? Do we as neighbors need to be concerned? I don't give a damn about the family's feelings when I don't know what happened. Now, yes, it's sad. Nobody should have to suffer a loss of a loved one. Don't get me wrong. Don't misinterpret. So, yeah, we got Travis. We caught him in his words. That makes you evil. It makes you a lazy learner on the scriptures. You didn't pay attention to Abinadi, did you? And I did that video because that was a Stanford comment that I was able to do a video with. And so I've got that to do today. So let's finish this up in 30 minutes so I can get to other stuff today. Dear God. So, Mormons. Yesterday I covered how they hate the Jews. But the reason why this was going to be number 3 yesterday is because of the two setting up for this video. The first one, that the church is in charge of everything that is happening all over the world, not just in America. That Trump is doing the will of the church, destroying the federal government, handing over government authority to the individual states. That was Project 2025. It was blatantly obvious. All you had to do was read the 1,000 pages of it. And then you could have known exactly what's happening right now. And not be shocked, not be surprised that it's happening right now. I mean, certainly you did your research on the candidates running for office, didn't you? You didn't just choose who was owning the other one better. You didn't let AI decide your vote, did you? See, this is their trap. The enemy purposely caused the problem. You then fall into it and do the problem. And then they blame you. You brought it on yourself. You chose. You were the one that did it. They're leading you right into a trap. And this is what the church is doing to Mormons, not just through their destruction. And so the church has been grooming Mormons for the last several years to embrace Islam. The church have used the Biden administration time period to bring in refugees to Utah. Whole bunch of Islamic centers dot this valley, all setting it up because the church knew what they were planning. The church specifically funded Islamic terrorism, setting it all up. It's already happened. We just need to do the investigation, and ta-da! And so Mormons, because of the church putting out a pamphlet, "We are Islam, Allah is our God," have had Mormons who embrace this. And to be overly protective of Islam. I see that in all different categories. People getting brainwashed and then becoming overly protective. I've seen this for decades. In an institute class in the younger singles ward that I was in decades ago. Newly divorced, kicked out of the ward because of my stake president, who called me in and says, "You know what you need to do, right? So it's best that you go to the younger singles ward." And then I'm there, and none of the younger singles ward girls want a divorced guy who's evil. You're divorced, that means you're a sinner. Oh yeah? Wait 5 years, you'll be just like me. And then you'll be an older singles ward female. And then you're going to get a little more desperate. You at least have a job? And so, yeah, there's lots of sabotaging done by this church because they're not using truth. And so the church tells Mormons Jesus is coming to set up Zion. And at the same time, the church in secret, is controlling Trump and what he's doing to America right now, which everybody who voted for him and wanted him over Harris are now shocked. What are you doing? Well, exactly what he said he was going to do. Why are you shocked? You're trying to claim that Trump wouldn't actually do it? He's just kidding? He wouldn't cross that line. Give me a break. We already had one term with him. You're not seeing the bigger picture. And so these Mormons who are protesting Israel do not understand that the church set that up too. The church set up Putin in the war against Ukraine. The church is behind everything. Oaks got leaked by a little sister missionary. Because this is what backfires on the church. Getting ignorant people to go around and do their will. You're gonna get leaks. Right, Trump? And so, yes, we know Brigham Young kept documents of his forgeries. We know. It's an established fact that this church is the enemy. And Mormons don't get it. Because Mormons are having to fantasize about what their understanding and interpretation of Zion will be. Just as they do with creating their own personal Jesus. The church already has their plans for Zion. And not a single Mormon is in harmony with the will of the prophets. And so every single Mormon, just like putting in Trump, are going to be shocked when it happens. It's too late then. It's too late. So, in the news, a Utah dad of 4 has been deported. And they're using the wrong arguments. He hasn't committed any crime. He's legal. He's got a green card. You didn't pay attention to the news about what Trump said and is doing. Everyone with a green card have now been revoked. You can't use the argument he hasn't done anything wrong, he's got a green card anymore. You're not paying attention. You're in denial of what's going on. Your complaints and emotional responses aren't going to make a single change. All the protests in the world aren't going to make a single change. This is the trap that the church set you up in. And so, yes, it's sad, but I've done the videos. Tom Holman, or whatever his name is, the guy in charge of the raids, he said there will be collateral damage. If a family member is illegal and has to go, the rest of the family has to make a choice. Do you go with them, or do you break up? You're in an illegal family. And so for the church news last night, that I slipped in that video, to promote violating Trump, promoting illegal family groups, saying that's what we do, plus the church's statement, going in defiance against Trump, saying, we give aid and comfort to the enemy. Bleep you, Trump. That's what they're doing. They're playing both sides. They're getting Mormons to turn on Trump. But the church put Trump in. Oaks got leaked. This is all part of their plan. Remember, there are prophecies, Mormons, that the enemy is going to come and destroy this valley. This is what the church is setting you up for. The church gets to step back and wash their hands of everything. You did it. They're purging Utah. They've been trying to purge Utah. They've been having trouble purging Utah. Operation Rio Grande, for example. We were just going to lock them all up. And now it's worse than ever. And so Trump is now stepping in to do the job. Trump has granted Utah and the rest of the nation to choose as a state what to do with federal lands. Utah wants to develop them. Trump has granted that. This allows for Zion again. Not just the gold card, but now allowing federal lands to be developed. Trump is paving the way for Zion, but that's not what the church wants. But yeah, they do, in the sense that Utah, by declassifying the federal lands, the church can be the first one to go in and buy it, to put temples as the cover story. They've already passed a law in Utah to keep out China from buying up more Utah land. But China knows exactly what's going on. They're in on the plot. They know America is being set up for a massive fall. The greatest nation ever, and it's on the verge of falling. And that's going to lead to World War III, not just a civil war. 3rd Nephi chapter 7. And so Trump is violating the judges, still conducting the raids, still using the national security law thing to keep it all a secret from the judges this time. He's refusing to cooperate with the judge, refusing to stop. You got to pay attention to this. He's purposely dragging it out in the courts as he continues to do it. It's what he did in the first term at the southern border. Why did you think he was going to do something different? Trump got leaked for the war against Yemen. And Hegseth was saying there was no leak. Didn't happen. The journalist says, yeah, here it is. Right there. Let's call the number. Ring. And so instead of accepting responsibility for what happened, which the one guy took the fall for, and Trump is letting him go, he doesn't care. It was all planned to go after the journalist. Trump is now blaming the journalist. It's like somebody sends you a text message, and then he then calls the police on you because you received the text message from him. That's worse than swatting. Dear God. And so another thing is that Utah was trying to get federal funding for the Great Salt Lake because the church stole all the water and caused our drought crisis the other year, for which I parted the waters. Oh, dear God. So, yeah, federal funding has stopped for everything. He's shutting down the federal government. Why is this so hard for people to understand? He's giving authority to the states. Trump, by denying the $50 million for the Great Salt Lake, is saying, you deal with it. It's in your state. Nobody is catching on yet. Everybody is still getting cold turkey treatment, being weaned off of federal funding. And it's like no state knows how to live independently. This is a crisis. You know, when you're dependent on other sources for your living, and then all of a sudden it's gone, you're doomed. Especially when it's cold turkey. Especially when they refuse to process you into the new lifestyle that you're going to now have, to assist you with whatever funding you need, with housing or basic necessities. This is just, dear God. And so this is going to be a major crisis that's going to cause a civil war. Because people who are protesting Trump are protesting that they want the previous status quo that was failing to work. It's just so screwed up. Utah is advertising through the news 4 dozen apartments are available in Utah. They're affordable. For who? Those who have the income requirements for the housing. So they could be mansions. There are 4 dozen mansions, affordable, for the rich. It's stupid when people advertise affordable housing now available. Really? So a homeless person can go and say, hey, I get Social Security, at least for the next couple of days. And say, hey, I want an apartment. I need a place to live. Well, let's check your finances. Oh, sorry, you don't qualify. What do you mean I don't qualify? You said it was affordable. Exactly. This is a con job. There are not 4 dozen apartments that are affordable in Utah. There are 4 dozen new apartments. Whether or not you can afford them, it doesn't matter. They're trying to let people live in false hope, because the people who get fired and are no longer able to afford their home are the ones who are not going to be able to afford a brand new home. Just, God. And it's sad that there are people who fall for this. And to finish this off, even though we went overtime, turkeys and cows are attacking vehicles. They're laying a trap on our roads. They're taking us out one by one. It's the revenge of the turkey cows. Lost the thumbnail picture. Okay, so there, we're all caught up now for Trump eyes. And then we'll get to Stanford's comment reply video, and then I have Eddie's comment reply video. That would actually be a quick one. Maybe I should just do it here for her and make this a longer video. Let's see. On my YouTube restores all banned videos. No, they're not. It's a mockery. YouTube never apologizes. YouTube never admits that they've done anything wrong. They're just like the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And so my videos that they banned are gone forever. They're only in the sealed portion of my plates. And so, yeah, there are a number of my videos that YouTube has banned. They are mine. But then she asks, she's confused, is this new revelation? When did you find out for yourself that Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon are true? How can that be, but the church isn't? When you read the Book of Mormon, you see the outside cover, another testament of Jesus Christ. That was not put on by Joseph Smith. That was put on by Spencer W. Kimball in 1982. He stopped the presses to redo the brand new quad that he created so that another testament of Jesus Christ could be put on all of the Book of Mormons. That is evil for him to have done that. Because the Book of Mormon says in the first book, in the first chapter, in the second verse and fourth, so that you get an understanding of which Jews it's talking about, that the Book of Mormon is Jewish, not Christian. Christianity is not Judaism. The Jewish Christ is not the Christian Christ. The Jewish religion is not the Christian religion. The Jewish rituals are not the Christian rituals. Nothing is the same except for the stolen scriptures that the Christians stole and turned them Christian. That's what Brigham Young did to the Book of Mormon. He stole Joseph Smith's religion. He stole Joseph Smith's scriptures. They don't belong to this church. They need to give them back. And yet, with the purchase from Kirtland through the Community of Christ, the church is now reinforcing and rewriting history that it is theirs. It is Christian. When anybody who can read and who is literate can say, no, it's not. That is the evil of this church. It is not a new revelation. This has been here the whole time. It's just that this lie of Brigham Young, spread by his Danites for the 200 years, has been effective, just like Roman Emperor Constantine with Christianity for 1700 years. And so I found out as a kid, but we didn't have Google search. Nobody was teaching us the religion of the Jews. There was the Jewish movie, The Chosen, not this Jesus movie that's out, or series, or whatever crap it is. Chaim Potok, who wrote the book. You know, those kinds of movies, I'm able to learn about Orthodox Jews. I don't know the difference. The Jews say that they're the same that they've been the whole time. Okay, they haven't. the pre-Babylonian captivity Jewish Egyptian is not modern Orthodoxy. It's a completely different religion. But Jews don't attack me for having deciphered Paleo-Hebrew like Mormons do. And so, yeah, this church, in its transfer to me, because section 107, verses 91 and 92, is the qualifications for the head of Joseph's church. And I've got it. I've accomplished all of those for which anybody can judge me thereby. Matthew chapter 7, starting in verse 15. Mormons will not run the test because they'll find out the truth and leave and become apostates and have orgy sex and do drugs. And so, yeah, there is no confusion when you understand the church is lying about everything. The church is covering up that they are the enemy, destroying this government and all around the world so that they can get their kingdom back. Albert Pike talked about it, and here they are. They're doing it. So hopefully you get to this video and you get the reply.